Greetings. Welcome to our first virtual make and take craft. Tonight, we will be making this charming fairy in a jar that actually lights up. You can see in the daylight, you still get a little effect there too, but at nighttime it's extra charming. For those of you who came and collected a kit, I hope you checked the contents of your kit to make sure everything that you need is in the kit. For those of you who wanted to follow along at home, this is what you will need. You will need a jar, the lid. I have spray painted the lids for those who collected a kit, just regular, any old color spray paint. There should be some soft, flexible wire, a more rigid pre-bent wire. This is the handle. Mushroom border, paper fairy, another paper fairy. These were generously cut out from our computer center diva, if you will, Natalie. Appreciate her doing that for me. And there's also this circle as a base, which is optional. It has some glue dots, your little votive, make sure it works. Some velcro dots, a brush, some tissue, and I think that's it. The first thing we're going to do is the most challenging thing, perhaps, and that is we're going to attach this handle. It's the handle that holds the handle around the neck of the bottle. That's the first thing we're going to do. So I'm going to set this stuff aside. Whoops, we don't want that. Hope everyone's been well, everyone's safe. I'm doing well, it's fun to do this. So here's your jar, here's your soft flexible wire. What you want to do is you're going to want to, not quite halfway, but at about halfway, you're going to take your pen or your pencil and you're going to make a loop around the pencil, like so. Then you're going to give it one gentle twist, like a twist tie bag, and then you can remove your pen or your pencil. Then you're going to take the wire and secure it around the bottom of the neck, underneath the little threads, so that your cap can still attach. And so you should have a little bit longer tail on one side and a little shorter tail on this side. So take the shorter tail and bend it up in a little U, and then you're going to take the longer side, take your pencil again, and you want it across from the other one as good as you can, so they're both halfway. Wrap it around your pencil. Again, give it a little twist. Oops. Like so. Remove your pen. This one didn't twist all the way, so we'll add a little extra twist there. And now you should have the two loops on either side. You can twist this again one more time because you really want it kind of snug, but not too snug. Then take that other tail that you bent into a U and come up along the bottom side of the loop. This stuff is really soft and flexible, so you can do it just with your fingers. You don't need tools. And then just wrap it around, all the way around the loop. Then take the other tail and do the same. Now you can just wrap all the excess you want, so you don't have to provide a cutting tool. But if you really want to, you can use some wire cutters or kitchen utility scissors. I really wouldn't use regular household scissors because it's wire. Or like I said, you can just wrap the excess around. And look at, I cut mine. Because I didn't have my glasses on. So now, all right. Hilarious. Look at, I cut my tail off too short and now I have to do it over. Just a moment. Okay. So while I'm doing that, look at, we'll watch one more time. Halfway, loop, twist, get it around. Life's funny. That's the fun of live TV. All right, now you have this secure. Later on at the end, you'll add the handle, but we won't do that now. The next step is to choose what kind of fairy you would like. There should be 2 included in each kit, one with a wand, one on a mushroom, and also a mushroom border. You don't have to use the border. I would suggest just 1 fairy. Don't try to put 2 in there because it will look chaotic. And the border. So the border's a little tricky because these things are going to go on the inside. So the first thing after you choose this is you want to mix up your glue. And I'm just using regular Elmer's or whatever white glue you have. Get yourself a little puddle. And this is just straight up water. I know you already have a sponge brush. If you want to use a different brush, you can. I'm just going to add a few drops of water to it. We don't want it too liquidy, but we want it fluid enough to paint easily. So it's maybe a 2 parts glue to 1 part glue ratio, or even 3 parts glue to 1 part water. So that's ready. Then you take your tissue paper. Now, I did include multiple colors in the kits if you want to do multiple colors. The thing with the tissue paper is you don't want to put so many layers of tissue paper on it that you're not going to be able to see through it. We want it to be translucent. So if you do multiple colors, they really shouldn't overlap that much. So what you're going to do is you're going to lay your jar down and get an approximate amount. And this doesn't really have to be too precise to cover the jar and to wrap around. Again, we don't want a huge overlap where the seam is. Lots of extra tissue paper, I know. All right, so it's about this size, fits the jar, just a little bit of overlap. Okay, so the first thing is you want to take whatever fairy. I'm choosing the mushroom fairy. I'm going to paint the back side because this is going to go on the inside of the jar. So we want it to stick. And there's my jar and your jar too will have a little seam. Don't put the fairy on there, so leave those on the 2 sides so that the image doesn't get interrupted. So then you're just going to turn your glass sideways, kind of lay the fairy in there and then push it down and push it up against. This is where your pen or pencil or whatever to kind of put it into position where you want it. It doesn't have to be 100% exact because we are covering it. And there we go, in position. Wow. Now the mushroom border, I mean, this could be glued on the outside. If that's easier for you, go ahead and do that. Or on the inside. On the inside, you're going to have to trim it to fit a little bit. So it might just be a lot easier to put it on the outside if you're using it at all. There's a little bit of overlap, so you will have to trim it. Again, this is optional, inside or outside. So I think what I'm going to do on this one is put it on the outside. So just, and this is fine, just paint yourself a rim, a band of glue. And you want to precondition this a little bit by rubbing it against the edge of a table, or you wrap it around a pencil so that you bend the fibers in the paper so that it can conform to a curve. And then you can just arrange it how you want. Right on the glue on the outside. And then I have a little excess, so I will trim that right there. There we go. And then you can work on putting it in to position. All right. Okay. Now while we have the glue wet and going, you can start painting a section at a time. I want the seam to be sort of on the side so that it doesn't interfere with the light. And since there is that seam on the side of the glass, that's where I'm going to start my tissue paper. And you're just going to paint the whole jar right up to the wire and down to the bottom, and a little bit, but you don't paint the bottom. Depending on how comfortable you feel you can work, you can do it in small sections, or you can just go for it and cover the whole jar in glue and hold it on the inside like this and put the tissue paper on. You can bend these little wires up if they get in your way. And you just, there's a shiny side and then there's a dull side on the tissue paper. I'm putting the shiny side in. Not sure if it makes a difference, but that's just, I like the duller side. And then you pat it down. Now I can see that mine is a little tall here, so I'm going to trim it as I go. Doesn't matter if the top side is a little ragged, because the nature of the tissue paper is that you can hide a lot of flaws. All right. Now I'm going to keep going. Whoops. Put that little border in there. And smoothing. Extra glue there to help smooth that border down. And if you get some wrinkles in it, that's completely fine. Now you can use a coat of glue on the top if you want as well. That's your choice. The thing about it is when the glue dries on the outside, it might be a little tacky. And in this humidity, it's going to take a while for it to dry on the outside. And you just might not like that, and you just have to wait for it to dry, and you can put a clear coat over it if you wanted it to be more smooth and less tacky. Working my way around. I'm just smoothing it down with my fingers. Get some little air bubbles out. The wrinkles are part of the charm. Okay, so when you get to the seam and the overlap, you can once again take your scissors and trim, or you can rip it. So you just have a minimal overlap. Pat that all down. like so. You can still see kind of through it. Now I'm going to show you, if you would like, if your tissue paper didn't get super saturated, you can put a top coat on, which is a little bit protective. And it can help you smooth the wrinkles out. But like I said, this is, might remain tacky for a little while, days and days afterwards. Little bonus here, if you like, you could add glitter to this, or not a lot. You want to keep it so that you can see the light through paper. Okay. There we go. That's that. Pretty easy, right? Now, all right, we'll set this aside to dry because you can't really do a whole lot with it now. The next thing to wrap it up is you have a Velcro candle. A Velcro candle. You will Velcro the candle. So you should have some Velcro strips. You can decide, you can decide which goes where. This just makes the light detachable on your lid. So I put the hooks on my lid. I put the, not hooks, the grabbers, and the loops. Thank you. That's my prompter. The loops on the other side. And that's that. And then you can add with just the white glue, paint the top and add some flowers, whatever. You could leave it plain like this, or you can decorate it if you have other bits and baubles at home. You can do that. And then you can detach your, even very easy. So the last thing is to, there's your lid, is to add the handle. And that you just put on like this. You want to go down and up. And this one's a little bit tricky because you want to make sure that this part of the loop is here. And so you might have to bend it a little bit to get it in that position. Otherwise it won't catch properly. Once it's like this, then you can just take your fingers and bend these closed, and you have yourself a little hook with which to hang it. If you want to make it weatherproof, you can, like I said, you can clear coat it. I mean, obviously you don't want to leave it out in the rain, but on a nice night, you can bring it out this round. And there's your finished fairy in a jar. I have some other options if you'd like to try some different applications of this same idea. For those that did not get a fairy, I did not mention right off the bat, we did have a fairy template that you can copy from home and cut out from black paper or a dark color paper of a silhouette of a fairy, because these were pre-cut for us and our kits. And you can adapt this to any kind of jar. I'll show you some others that I made, or other possibilities. Okay, so one, and you don't even have to have a fairy in here, is I took some glow paint and you just put dots all over the outside of the jar. You can stick the fairy in there too. And to do that is you will take the black circle, take the glue dot to secure the black circle, put the dot in the middle. And you can use this fairy. You can bend her foot just a little so she can be perched on the glue. You can just do that a little bit, and then she can go inside. Fun thing about this is that, you know, it glows. It's just a different fun twist. One other fun twist, and this is a larger jar, is, and I didn't put a light in this one, but you can. And this is a bigger jar and a little bigger circle. What I did to get the blue was I took some of our glue mixed with water, and I added some food coloring, and I put it in the inside of the jar. And then you just paint the inside and let the glue dry. And then the inside is coated and you still get that translucence and you can see the fairy in the jar that way. So I hope you had a lot of fun. I hope you made a fairy in a jar. And this concludes our virtual craft for July 2020. See you next time.